Arena Rule 3, players and alternates. There are 3 players on a team in the arena. You can designate alternate players if you like. They need to be qualified under the same conditions as your regular players. The team shall have 1 captain. That captain is allowed to discuss procedural matters with the umpire. Procedural matters are if the score is incorrect, the time is incorrect, the clock didn't start, I need timeout for tack, one of my teammates is injured, my horse is injured. That's procedure. That does not require the umpire's judgment. Fouls and ball placement require the umpire's judgment. The rule is clear that you are not to discuss that with the umpire, not even the captain, because it's not procedural. Okay, the new date for having to get a NOCSAE approved helmet is January 1st, 2021. In order to play in a USPA event, if you look at your computer screen, it tells you what a USPA event is. And in order to play in a USPA event, you have to be wearing a NOCSAE approved helmet. NOCSAE stands for the National Operating Committee on Standards for Athletic Equipment. These helmets are supposed to be safer according to the testing. So you'll want to get one of those. January 1, 2021. That's the date. Okay. Goggles and a face mask. Anyone under the age of 18 is required to wear goggles or a face mask, and of course you can always wear both. Any kind of goggles will do. Pick some that look good and that you're comfortable with, and go with that. If you're playing in the intercollegiates and you're over 18, which is most of the players probably, you have to wear goggles and a face mask even if you're over 18. For all polo, anyone under 18 has to wear either one or both. But if you're playing in the in college polo, even if you're over 18, the II will require one or the other. A quick note on face masks. If you're getting your NOCSAE approved helmet and you want to put a face mask on it instead of just wearing goggles, or instead of wearing goggles, you'll want to get a NOCSAE approved face mask. What does that mean? That means that whoever manufactured your helmet needs to go ahead and install the face mask. If you go ahead and put an aftermarket face mask on a NOCSAE approved helmet, it's no longer NOCSAE approved. So if you get your NOCSAE approved helmet, have them put the face mask on for you, or you can put one on according to the manufacturer's specifications. I don't really know how you get those. I guess you have to ask the helmet manufacturer for those. But if they put it on for you, it will be NOCSAE approved, and I think you're good to go. So that's just a quick note on that. Okay, anyone riding around the arena, grooms, helpers, anyone warming up horses, anything like that, also needs to have a helmet and has to have the chin strap of the helmet in place, so it actually functions as a helmet and not just a hat. It does not have to be a NOCSAE approved helmet. They can wear your old helmet, so to speak, or any helmet, but they need to be wearing a helmet. Okay, a cowboy hat is not a helmet. Unfortunately for you cowboys, they're not helmets. You're actually going to have to take a cowboy hat off and wear a helmet. Okay, so spurs. Let's talk about that. The rule here says that spurs, sharp spurs, and any kind of equipment with protruding buckles, anything that can hurt another player or a horse, you can't use them. You can't wear them. So as an umpire, we'll have a look. If you're wearing these big old Western spurs with big wheels on them that are sharp, we're not going to let you do that. The old kind of dull, rounded spurs, those are the best ones to use. They won't cut up your horse. But that's the rule. Nothing sharp, nothing protruding. Yes, we will have a look, and players from the other team will complain, I'm sure. So anyway, keep everything. If you have to tape over, whatever you have to do, or change it to a better version. If the 2 teams that are competing come out and their colors of their jerseys are very, very similar, one team will have to change, and the host tournament committee will decide which team has to change. If you're playing in a USPA tournament, a player may only play for one team, and a -1 rated player may not play in a USPA tournament above a 9-goal level. There's not a lot of them, but that is the rule. If you are sick, intoxicated, drunk, on cold medicine, and that impairment is dangerous to the other players, then you're not allowed to play. And your umpire will have to determine that. I don't see this very often, but I suppose it's possible to have a couple beers and become dangerous. So that's something you probably don't want to do. Or like these girls here, having a glass of wine or some rum. I'm assuming that's after the game. But the point is, save the beer for after the game. I think it's better that way. And the rules just for safety. Makes sense. You may do unlimited substitutions at the end of a period, not during a period. The only time you can substitute during a period is for an injury. We'll go over that in a minute. But unlimited substitutions in between periods, obviously with qualified substitutes, mean they're not playing in the tournament for another team, and their handicap still allows your team to fall within the handicap of the tournament, certainly not exceed the upper handicap limit. I think you can fall below the lower handicap limit, but your handicap for that game is the highest handicap you had in the arena at any one time. So if you're playing in a 10 to 12 goal and you have a 12 goal team and you replace your 5 goaler with a 4 goaler, your team handicap still stays the same as it was when you had the 5 goaler. So if it was 12 goals and now you're 11 goals for a couple periods or even for the rest of the game, you're 12 goals. So it's always the highest at any one moment. In the event of an injury, a team can do a double substitution. The only requirement here is obviously the substitutes have to be qualified, USPA members not playing in the tournament, and they have to have a handicap. But if the substitute is qualified, you can do a double substitution. The only thing you cannot do is you cannot exceed the upper handicap limit of the tournament. But you can fall below the lower handicap limit of the tournament. That you can do. But like I just said, your team handicap will be the highest it was at any one time in the arena. So you'll have to play with the higher handicap. Also, your team is expected to be on time at the ready to play at the scheduled start time, and that's a host tournament committee situation. But and it's kind of obvious, but it's actually in the rules. So if your game is at 10 o'clock, be in the arena and ready to play. Okay, talking about injury substitutions, they have a penalty 7 rule here, kind of like outdoors. I promised I wouldn't mention outdoor polo when doing the arena rules, but the penalty 7 is a little different in the arena. So the penalty 7 is the penalty where one of your players gets injured by being fouled by a player from the other team, and then your injured player cannot continue because of the injury and because of the foul. So then your team can either substitute that player, or if there's no substitutes available or you just don't want to, you may elect to do the penalty 7, where you take a player from the other team and order them off the field. It's a player nearest above the handicap of the player that got injured. Okay, and if there isn't one, then the next highest handicap is the obvious choice. Should that happen, both teams can do double substitutions if they wish, and you'll continue. But the goofy thing is this: the total handicap of all the new players on your team after the substitutions have done, plus the goals that you were already awarded by handicap, may not exceed the higher handicap team's handicap. Okay, so in outdoors it's the tournament limit, the upper limit of the tournament. In indoors it's you cannot exceed the higher handicap team's handicap. So if the higher handicap team is 12 goals and you're playing in a 15 goal, you cannot exceed 12 goals. When you add all the players on your team that are going to play after the substitutions, and you add the goals awarded by handicap, that number must be 12. Can't be 13 or 14 even though it's a 16 goal. Make sense? You can read the rule. The text is raw on this page. Read it slow. It's really quite simple. It's just hard to write that sort of rule. So that's how you do that. One other note on the penalty 7, should you not do a substitution and you just order the player off the field, and now you're playing obviously 2-on-2, and your injured player feels better or can continue, he may not re-enter the game. So you would think, hey, I'll get my player back, and then the other team can have their player back, and we'll all be happy again. No. Once he's out and you order someone off the other team, that's it. It's 2-on-2, buddy. You should have substituted. Okay? Try to keep that simple. If you have still under injuries. If you have one of your players gets injured or gets called away, has to do something else for whatever reason, and you don't want to substitute them or don't have the horses or can't or whatever the reason is, you don't have to in the arena. You can continue with 2 players. You obviously have to keep the handicap that you had that was highest at any one time in the arena, so you would keep the original handicap. But let's just say the number 2 on your team got called away for an emergency. Maybe he or she is a first responder, and they leave, and there's no one else there, or you don't want anyone else. You can play 2-on-3. It's allowed, and it's okay.